Welcome, everyone, to episode 399 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff and podcasts, too. Today, Vrana is my guest. AJ is this woman named Alex, who, not so secretly, is a badass. I find most of the women I've interviewed on the show to be really incredible, and Alex is no different. She's probably going to be my drinking buddy at some point down the road, put me under the table. So listen, guys, just remember, if you see me in a weird spot in Toronto, it's not my fault. Mostly. Alex is the writer of The Hollow Gods, and the only thing I gotta say is, I wish the sound definitely was echoing. I did my best to spruce it up. You can definitely understand her better than when I glued the volume I had, but it's not perfect. I did the best I could, but anyways, let's just get to that conversation, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
So now the recorder's officially on. I always ask this as the first question, and I'm sorry if this comes with expectations, but if you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
I'm pretty boring. I don't think I have anything incriminating to say.
I think everybody. I personally think everybody does. I think some are more fun than others. I mean, so right, but I think like we all make mistakes in this life, and some of them are, in my case, I nearly tried to kill a go-kart driver once. It was amazing. Like that kind of mistake generally was harmless for the most part. I'm still not allowed to go in that park, but.
You actually
No. I didn't intentionally try to kill him. That's why I wasn't. So I was about 8 years old. This is the first time I was in a go-kart, right? And this was in East Park. And for whatever. Okay, so first off, I sucked because it was my first time doing the go-kart by myself, and I really sucked. I was getting the hang of it towards the end, but let's be honest. Me and the wall became very good friends that whole day, right? But at the very end, and I do not know why I thought like this. I do not understand this even one little bit. But see, when I used to get off my bike, I would just jump off my bike and walk it down because I'd slow down, jump off, and we're good. For whatever reason, I thought it would be okay to do the same thing in the go-kart. No, it wasn't. I've never seen someone dive so fast in my life. I still remember the dive, actually. So.
It's pretty dumb, so I guess it makes a kind of sense.
Yeah, momentum and viscosity and all that stuff. There's a certain truth to that. But I honestly like I wasn't that like I don't know what kind of idea I had. I really don't. It's kind of one of those. 1 second here. It was kind of one of those things where I had no real good idea what the hell I was doing. And physics was not my strong suit at that point in time. I learned something about physics that day. Momentum keeps going. I actually have a real life example of this. But yeah, that's how I nearly killed a go-kart operator. It was, yeah.
That's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty. I like to think it's epic. I mean, terrible, but kind of epic,
I mean, I think it's pretty epic when if you're like third grade and you nearly kill someone.
Yeah.
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 I think the most badass thing I did as like an 8-year-old was I put like Tabasco sauce in someone's like Reese's peanut butter crackers, and I thought they were like mean to me, so I thought this was a way to get back at them. And then they had like a really bad reaction, and their mom got really mad. But I don't know. I was boring as a child.
You're boring as a child. Okay, so you were a petty crook. I was a thug. That was the difference between us at 8 years old.
Yeah, I was pretty petty.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. How you doing?
I'm doing good, all things considered. Like, I don't remember the last time I went outside.
That's not entirely a good thing, but it's not an uncommon thing either.
It's locked down. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where you are, but we're like at least in Toronto, it's pretty dead because.
Oh, you're in Toronto? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm in Windsor.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
They're not as obviously we don't have the population you do, so
Yeah.
so we don't. It's not as full on lockdown here. It never hit here as hard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it never hit here as hard. So it's a lot more relaxed here. My sister's in Toronto, so I know that a lot of people. I gotta admit, I saw pictures of the 401 completely clear. I've never seen that in my life, ever.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like there's no traffic, and I'm not gonna miss traffic for a long time, so I'm okay with it. Toronto traffic is like the worst.
Oh no, Toronto's the shit. It's okay. There's two cities in Canada I can get lost in. One of them's Toronto. Do you know that part? Okay, so I'll tell you the thing about Toronto. Okay, there's two things that really suck about Toronto. Toronto is an exit every 5 kilometers. It's not like Detroit. Detroit, you can't get lost in Detroit. Like, say what you will about the quality of the roads in Detroit. The quality of their infrastructure is amazing. You can't get lost in Detroit. If you screw up, you literally can take the cul-de-sac to come back. It does not, like, there's no rocket science. Toronto, you miss your exit,
You're fucked.
yeah, pretty much. You're fucked. That's it. There's nothing you can do. You are going to go at least another 5 clicks. You might be able to turn around, maybe not. So my favorite part, and you'll know this part, is the 403, 427, 410, 401.
Oh my god, yeah.
That is there is a point on that 401 you don't know if you're actually on the damn highway, and that's you haven't moved, like you haven't left your lane. You're just driving, minding your own business, and you're like, oh, I'm on the 4. How did I get on the 410? I did not move, and you didn't, and the sign didn't move you. Nothing. There's no lane. Nothing. You just, I'm on the 410. I'm going Why am I going to Brampton?
Yeah, that intersection is really awful. Like, I have to use that intersection when I go to the airport, and I've gone that way, like, at least a million times, and I still just get nervous when I approach that particular, like, juncture. I'm like, this is it. This is the time I make a mistake, for sure.
Well, it happens. Okay, there's that point, like literally, if you're going into the city, if you're going in towards Toronto, like, you have 6 overpasses just land on you, and you're like, I'm in Toronto now. Holy, how did... Right? That's literally what happens. Like, you go in and coming out, you're like, I think I just got to find a way to stay. Why is this lane going? Oh God, I'm on the 427 now. How did this happen? Right? And that's it, right? And that's, I mean, that's the thing about Toronto, right? You could, there's that. There's also, like, okay, so on the east side, there's the Don Valley Parkway. You have to be by, if you want to beat rush hour, you have to get by, like, that's the barrier. If you can get on the other side of the Don Valley Parkway by a certain time, you're good. If you can't, you're going to be there a while. It's not LA bad, but it's bad.
It's pretty bad. I mean, I think, like, rush hour in Toronto lasts from, like, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah, it's not cool.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, I again, just so now that I know where you're from, I said I know the area. I might end up living in Toronto again when this is all over. I don't know. I went to Vancouver I was in Vancouver up until about a couple months ago, and I wanted to go into the film industry. That ain't happening this year, obviously, but
happening this year.
No, nothing's happening this year. Nothing, right? We're all chilling. That's what we're doing. I'm figuring out how to brew booze and chill. That's pretty much my plan.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, you might look, seriously. We're gonna be in here. Look, no matter the virus will become less dangerous as time goes on. It's like there's a cycle with these pandemics, right? The virus hits a certain peak, and then there comes a point where there's like an equilibrium of people survive versus like there's just an equal. There comes like a point where it's like, okay, the Spanish flu in 1918 sucks. Spanish flu in 1920 wasn't so bad, or it still was bad, but it wasn't like it was in 1918. It will progressively get better over time. So,
yeah, I mean, as people become more immune, the population will...
Exactly. COVID might become like a flu season, and that's probably what it's going to end up as. And from everything I'm seeing and reading, I mean, thank God it's not the Spanish flu, or we'd all be kind of boned. But it's again, we're going through this cycle, right? So since we're going through this cycle, right? Well, you're going to be in it for a while. So what are you going to do? I'm going to teach myself how to draw. I'm going to grow shit, and I'm going to brew my own booze. Because why the hell not?
Yeah, I mean, brewing booze. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's fun. My dad actually made wine a couple of years back. It was disgusting, like everything. But it was good wine, I guess.
Well, I can't wait to ferment my potatoes and try making a vodka. That's what I'm going to go for.
Vodka? Yeah. That's good shit.
Yeah, it's good shit. It's clean shit, right? Look, the worst case scenario, I will make something that can start a car. The best case scenario, right? The best case scenario is I will come up with something really, really awesome. And then then I'll just shave my head bald, and I can be a friar. I could just like promote booze throughout my neighborhood, and people will come and flock, and who knows, right?
And people love moonshine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, right? So I'm either gonna make gasoline, or I'm gonna make something worth drinking, or maybe somewhere in the middle, like maybe like some of those old Russian moonshines. Hey, it can start my car and I can drink it.
Do you know what Shivoitsa is?
No, I saw.
Or like, so it's a plum. Well, I guess it's a plum brandy that's found like in the Balkans and in parts of Eastern Europe.
Yep.
And so it's a kind of moonshine. And so my dad used to make this stuff. Like my family's from former Yugoslavia, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he had like an orchard. On like his family property, and so they had like pears and plums and apples and things. And so I mean, you can make this particular kind of moonshine from plums, pears, quincy apples, like all kinds of different stuff, but usually plum or pear. And so he would homebrew this stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they call it baking. So I don't know the technicalities of making this particular moonshine, but it's a process called baking. And then he basically just brought a bunch of it to Canada, and like it's just sitting in the basement. Is that incriminating? That's something incriminating.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. You got so. Well, first off, you're from Yugoslavia, so you're just naturally tough, and that's why you didn't mess around when you were a kid, because your parents would just kick your ass. So yeah. So,
there's no grounding or go to your room.
No, it's straight to the hideous. It's straight to the hideous beating. And say what you will, it works.
Yeah, like just like your mom just has to like raise a hand, and you're like, that's it. I'm never doing anything bad again. Like I'm done.
Yeah, and then you come. Because you guys are some of the toughest people on the planet. You guys, I mean, no joke. You've seen hell, and so. Nothing phases you. You're kind of. I will never mess with you in a million years. You just might. You might just. You'll turn me into a pretzel, and you might enjoy it. And I don't think I would. So, no. It's just you guys have been seen and endured an incredible as a culture. You guys have seen and endured a lot, and it teaches you. Although I do hope you get some air at some point, because air is good, and Yeah, right. But yeah, air is wonderful. It sounds to me like from an adversity point of view, you probably have a better handle on things than a lot of people. Like, are you adjust as well as can be expected, shall we say?
I mean, yeah, I would hope so. Like, I mean, I wasn't living there when stuff was really bad, but I did get to kind of see it through my extended family, and it is really bizarre because, like, when there are wars and stuff, people just sort of go on with their daily lives. So, like, my aunt would go for, bicycle rides while, there's a bombing going on in the city. And it sounds crazy, but that's just kind of, like, how it was.
No, it oddly makes, like, straight up, it oddly makes sense. Because it's...
like, what are you going to do? Like, you can't just hole up in the basement for the rest of your life.
No, you can't. I mean, I just posted this on Facebook today. Like, the Michigan protesters right now. Okay? Now, like, I mean, on the one hand, yeah, okay, maybe this isn't a good time to do that kind of thing. I'm not saying it's the wisest thing in the world to do. On the other hand, there's going to come a point, I think we all are going to agree with them, life's got to go on, we got to take our risks, we got to take our chances. It's not today, but, right, but a year from now, maybe, right, maybe, right, because, like, that's natural. At some point in our lives, life goes on. You have to go, you know what, I'm going to take chances. Look, I could wake up tomorrow in my comfort of my own bed and die. As morbid as a thought as that is, it could happen. You know, God might go to me, Josh, it's your time. And I'll be like, well, God, I don't want to go. And God will be like, well, no, you're going. And that's it. I'm gone. Right? My life could be over tomorrow. So you at some point, you just got to realize it's a risk just to get out of bed. So, you know, that's life. And that you have to at some point choose, do I want to live in life or do I want to live in fear of life? And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be cautious. I don't want any listeners getting the wrong idea here. I'm not saying go outside and frolic and play right this minute. But at some point, you are going to go out and frolic and play again.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I remember when I was in my undergrad, one of my psychology profs, who was like a clinical psychiatrist, and, we were talking about, like, defense mechanisms and stuff, and he was talking about denial, and he's like, in a way, we need denial, because if we actually lived with a constant awareness of this, like, the statistical reality, we would just be immobilized by how scary it is. Because as you said, like, every day you go outside and you can get hit by a car, or, like, I don't know, a piece of a building could fall on you, and so we just can't, like, live with the constant awareness of that, otherwise we wouldn't.
Well, actually, I just was reading, like, Liam Sharp. I love, I'm a comic book junkie, right? I'm just a comic book junkie, so I'm a big fan of Green Lantern, and I'm loving Liam Sharp, who draws it. He talks about this constant, like, well, what am I going to do with my life, and how people always seem to forget the important lessons in life sometimes. But what a lot of people forget about that is, well, we do forget, but it's how we cope. It's how we move on. Time heals all wounds because we forget the most painful parts of the shit, and then we're able to get up and breathe. It's a healing mechanism. Now, that means we make some of the same mistakes again. Lord knows I'm as guilty of it as anybody. But at the same token, right, I mean, that's part of life too. That forgetfulness is not a bad thing entirely,
Yes. Yes, sometimes you do need to forget things to kind of function, I guess.
Yeah. So can I ask you something? Do I call you Miss A, Miss J, or Miss AJ Vrana? What do you prefer?
So my name is Alex.
Alex.
You can call me Alex, yes.
Okay. All right. So Alex. Okay, that's cool. Alex as in Alexandria, or just Alex straight up?
It's Alexandria, but, like, literally for as long as I can remember, people just call me Alex, except for my parents who scream Alexandra, so it's different.
Yes. No, I get it.
Yeah, just when people call me Alex.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. So, yeah, you were, or you, from what you told me when we were talking on the Twitter, we were right. You studied psychology, which kind of maybe terrifies me a little bit because maybe you can read my mind. But you've gotten into writing fiction, and you got, like, a big book coming out actually. So. How did that all magically happen? Or did it was it magical? Did you just work your butt off to get there?
It was definitely not magical. It was probably the most grueling experience of my life, to be honest. I started writing in my early 20s. I'm 31 now, so, like, 10 years ago. And, what I wrote was just absolute shit. It was, like, not great, but I liked writing, and at some point I decided I wanted to do this seriously. So having no real formal training in creative writing,
I did it, and I don't feel a thing because I went through so much to get here.
Yeah, and it actually took like a couple of months until I really started to actually feel like, oh my god, this is gonna happen. Like I'm gonna have a published book, because I was just so accustomed to not getting anywhere with it that by the time something did happen, I didn't even believe it was happening. So.
Well, it's that surreal moment. Like, how did this happen, right? Why am I? How did this? Like, because you go so long and you do something, right? And you're just putting in and you realize like what you did didn't change. It just suddenly it's like the universe said, "I recognize your effort." And that's it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that I genuinely thought better at what I was doing with my practice, but yeah, like it's just. I think the universe was like, okay, we're at a place now where we can actually, make something out of this. So.
Well, there's a discipline to it. Like the really, really successful ones, the really, really good ones. It's a day in and day out drive. Like, look, I just started writing freelance. I've been at it for 1 month literally 1 month and 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So. I've done lots of little bits of writing here and there just to get my experience up and out there, and I can write things really quickly and deliver and all that wonderful fun stuff. But I know my journey's just beginning. I've been fortunate that I've always made money doing it, which is like hooray! But I know it's going to be feasts, it's going to be famines, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and there's a discipline every day. I'm going to have to get up and do the work, whatever that work is. Whether that's talking to someone like you who's done very awesome, and congratulations, by the way. It's really cool that you got there. It really, really is. I hope to get there someday myself. Maybe when I'm old and mature enough. I don't know if you saw my topics of writing. I don't know if I'll ever get there with the topics I'm writing, but that's okay. It's the effort. The effort. You get up, you do your work, you do the best you can with what you have, and you just push it, and then you push it, and then eventually. The discipline of it nets you rewards, whether it's working for a big publishing house, whether it's releasing a book, doing public speaking, teaching. Like it opens all kinds of doors for you eventually.
Yeah, and I think that working on this book has helped me in so many other areas of my life in ways that I didn't really notice until way, way later. But I mean, yeah, like there's nothing glamorous about writing. I do think that there's this like aesthetic that people think exists around writing. Like, oh, you sit down with your laptop and your coffee, and then you just kind of like lose yourself in your own little world, and write all these sentences. And it's not really like that most of the time. Most of the time, you're staring at a page, like trying to put one word after another, and you have no idea if it makes sense. And then you go back and you tear it up and you do it again. It's really not like fun all the time.
No, I hate the proofing stage. The proofing stage is my least favorite part of it. It's because you're like, I've seen this before, and here's the worst part. Because no matter how good you are at that, you always miss something. You always do.
Yeah.
Right?
No, so I got physical proof of my book recently, and I got my partner to read it because I know that like I practically have this book memorized. I'm not going to catch anything, and so I mean this thing has been proofed by like 4 different people at this point, and then my partner read it and he was like, oh, there's a typo, and there's a typo, and like we found like 7 typos in this manuscript, and I was like, how the fuck did these typos get in here? I was so mad, but like that's just sort of the nature of the beast. It's just kind of like you always miss something.
Yes. No, it's true. It's one of those situations where you're gonna miss stuff. You're gonna be like, how did I? No, I'm not. And then eventually you just realize, nope, that's not. I'm not gonna go down that wet path anymore. That way lies madness. It's out there. It's done. Right? At least I hope it's nothing embarrassing. I hope it's nothing like absolutely crazy. Right? Where it's so blaringly obvious that when you look at it the next day, you're like, how did you that's all I hope for. It's not that embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think the stuff that gets missed easily is little stuff because your brain just sort of fills in the blanks. Like,
yes,
our brains are just so good at like fixing little mistakes, and we don't even notice. So, like, if those are the kinds of mistakes you have, it's not a huge deal, and chances are most people won't notice them. But I care, because I'm a perfectionist. So.
Yeah, no, you're like, no! Right? It's like, no! How did I miss? But then you have to accept defeat. Like, perfection is the ideal. Progression is the goal. That's how I look at it.
Yes, you just hope to make it as good as possible with what you have.
Yeah, and that's it. And then at some point, hopefully, people look at what you read and go, that was good, and I hope you do another one. Or sometimes they go, that was terrible. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, that one will make me cry. I'm not gonna lie, but I would rather good or terrible than nothing. How was it? It was nice. Ew. What?
Like the sort of like non-reactions, those are the worst.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. It's like, how was it? It was nice. Oh God, no, I didn't want to hear that. Say it was terrible. I'll cry, but I'll be okay with it. Right?
I mean, getting reviews is a whole like beast of its own.
Yes.
It's like impossible not to react to reviews, especially when it's your first book. So,
I know. I'm dreading mine actually. I'm dreading it. Mine goes out like literally in 4 days. I am scared to death. I'm not gonna lie. Right? It's like,
it's important to actually like let yourself have feelings about your reviews. Like, it's okay to be angry. Like, and there will be reviews that are just dumb. Like, there will be readers who just don't read your work correctly. It sounds weird to say that because like everyone takes what they want from a piece of work, but there are just bad takes. And
well, look, I'm not worried about, hey, your stupid unicorn wasn't that funny. I'm not worried about that. Like, that's fine. You can have that. Thanks for the review. It ups my score. It's the ones where you're like, I hate this book, and they deconstruct it so perfectly that it's like, I hate myself. What the hell did I do wrong? Or the other one where they're just being mean. Like, they're just being mean for the sake of being mean.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get those, you're like, fuck you. Like, literally, that's your response. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah, like, I had this one review that started like, as clunky as it's, or like as generic and clunky as its title, ... And I was like, but then why didn't you read it if you thought the title was generic and clunky?
I don't know.
Like, that's just mean. Like, why would you say that?
I don't know. I'm not here to tell you why you were so good that someone just had to say that about the name. There was something about that name that just tickled somebody that way.
I still read the entire book, and so I'm like, well, I don't understand. Like, I don't know.
At that point, you just shrug. Thanks, I guess. I don't know. There's no. I don't have a good answer for you on that one. I look at it like this. If you want to complain, so I love my grandmother, but sometimes she likes to complain for no reason. It's just the way it is. Right? I'll probably get punched for this when she listens to this, but that's okay. I'll take the punch. My grandmother is 80-something years old, can probably still whip my ass. I'm okay with this. But the thing of it is, it's like, you know, sometimes people just enjoy complaining for no real good reason. So the lesson I've learned. This is the lesson I learned is the magic 3 words. Are you done? All right, that's it. Are you done? And they're like, well, what do you mean? You felt so strongly about this that you had to say this.
Yeah.
So, are you done? Well, no. Okay, continue. Or yes, thank you, and move on. Either way. It does work. It's surprisingly effective. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's very disarming. Like, if someone's just like going off and you're like, "Are you done?" and they're like, "Well, yes, I guess I am done."
Or if not, you let them continue. You're not even trying to, you know. You're not even trying to. You're not trying to defend yourself. You're just letting them get their moment.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. Like, you know what? They want this moment this badly. All right. You have it. Let's just do it. worst case scenario, right? Now, if they start repeating themselves, I start charging money. If I'm an asshole, so I won't deny it. It's one of those things where if I hear it once, it's not a waste of my time. If I hear the same thing, it's now you're wasting my time, and I want money for it.
It's annoying when people repeat themselves.
Well, if it's by accident, it's forgivable. It's when it's really on purpose, and you can just tell they're just trying to eat your time.
Yeah.
That actually is one of the only few things that still pisses me off.
Yeah, I think I think that's like when they don't get the response they want from you, so they just repeat themselves, hoping for a different response.
Yeah.
And it's annoying because it's really transparent, and you're like, stop it.
Well, at that point, you're like, okay, $50.
Yeah.
It's like, just look, if I gotta hear this, can you at least compensate me for this? Right.
Yes.
You're an asshole. Yes, I am. I'm okay with it.
I mean, a therapist would charge more.
Yeah, no, totally. No, a therapist would charge a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? I'm stuck with you. I can't do anything with you. I might as well get some money for it. What does a therapist charge? You might know the answer to this. So I should know how to set my prices.
Yeah, I assume most therapists in Toronto will charge probably somewhere between $150 and $200 an hour. Some a little bit more. Depends on the neighborhood. Depends on their reputation.
Okay.
That's generally like.
So then let's pick this number. So if I charged 120, I'm not a shrink, I'm not a psychologist. So if I charged $125, that would be fair then. That would be fair?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on if you're actually giving them like actionable advice to.
If I have to listen to them waste my time.
It might be a little steep for having them waste your time.
Okay. Okay.
Because you can like also establish boundaries and be like, hey, I'm sorry, but you're wasting my time, so I'm gonna go now.
Fair enough. Okay. But if they still persist, can I charge them?
I mean, do you have a way to actually get the money from them?
Possibly.
You can charge them. There's no guarantees they'll actually pay up.
Oh no, but I've noticed that the moment money is brought up, people tend to run. Put your money where your mouth is. It's a good filter.
It does make people uncomfortable. So.
Yeah, it's a good filter. Wow, I never thought I'd be talking about how to filter people out with you. This is interesting. Let's see here. So are you from so your family's from Yugoslavia, but did you grow up in Toronto or did you grow up like anywhere else in Canada?
I grew up mostly in Toronto. Nowhere else in Canada. I did spend some time living in Japan, but I didn't like grow up there or anything. I mostly just grew up in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm just asking because it sounds like you have some travel and some experience to you. So I figured, well, did you move around? Did you just settle in Toronto? Did you see anywhere?
No. I mean, I did spend a significant amount of time in former Yugoslavia, because my parents were still very attached to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I did go there a lot, and I formed very strong cultural ties there, and it was actually my first language, so English is my second language. But it's my dominant language. English is by far my dominant language, but my first language was Serbo-Croatian. So
okay.
Yeah, I do have that cross-cultural thing going on, I guess.
So I'm going to ask this question because I know this is I know this isn't. I don't know if you, because English is by now you're probably dominant. So do you used to think when you did your mental thoughts? Did you used to think in Croatian, or do you still do sometimes?
I mean, sometimes I do. Yeah, I actually. What's funny is that there are some household objects or just things in the house that I still think of in Serbo-Croatian because growing up I only heard them in Serbo-Croatian and I will still struggle to remember the English word for them. So pantry is actually one example. I always forget the English word for pantry because I'm so used to hearing it in Serbo-Croatian with my family and stuff.
Yeah, oh, it makes sense. No, it does make sense. Like, I speak English is my predominant language, but I have a little bit. I like French from school, from in Ontario, and I took a little Spanish, and I can swear in a whole bunch of languages. So, but I can swear in Israeli, I can swear in Arabic, I can swear in Maltese, I can swear in Vietnamese. What I've learned is like. I've learned this is a very important life lesson I've learned in life is that trying to communicate with people, there isn't a soul alive that does not like to play. The trick is figuring out how people like to play. And what I find with a lot of people is if you give them that permission to do it, they'll come up with a way to enjoy the game. So if you're going to a new country, we do a lot of our communication is nonverbal, but some of the earliest verbal stuff that everybody on some level enjoys is the cursing. Okay, how do you curse? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Right? So everybody has that little bit of, okay, this could be fun. All right, how can I get him to say son of a bitch in my language? All right? And sometimes you'll play along, you'll get someone to say a phrase that they didn't know what it means, right? Like we all do that stuff, right? But it forms bond. It forms a really, really cool bond with people though too, because people that teach you'll notice too if you know anyone from different languages, you communicate in like a broken English, broken whatever the other language is, and it creates some really good friendships,
Actually, funny story. Since you asked for funny stories earlier, so my mom used to work with. In this accounting department at this company, and one of her colleagues, her boyfriend, played basketball with a bunch of Serbian and Croatian guys, and so he asked them once how do you say hello, and so instead of teaching him hello, they taught him how to basically say go suck a cock. And so then he told this to his girlfriend, who then came to work and came up to my mom and said go suck a cock in Serbian. My mom was like, what the fuck? So that's sort of an example. And she literally thought it meant hello, and it did not mean hello.
No, of course not. But that's awesome. I mean, it's terrifying and yet awesome at the same time. Yeah. Right? But that's human nature, right? We all are wired to communicate with each other, and we're wired to play. We're just that's just the nature of who we are and what we do, right? Yeah. So I've learned that I've learned it's important. I mean, oh, by the way, Hollow Gods, is it young adult?
It's adult, yeah.
It's full adult? Okay. So when I've done writers' conferences, I do things like the Dr. Seuss off, which is I get grown-ups to actually perform Dr. Seuss in various forms. You have not lived until you've seen Sean Bird do an operatic rendition of Cat in the Hat. It's fantastic. Right?
Wow. That's so weird too, because I didn't really grow up with Dr. Seuss. I knew of Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
That's what I was exposed to.
Everybody knows Dr. Seuss a little bit, right? I'm using this as a great...
Yeah, like green eggs and ham.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That book's genius, by the way. 50 words. It's amazing you can tell that story in 50 words. But anyways, it's genius. But the thing is, right? Getting people to play, I find, as a writer, you have that ability with any of your readership, your audience. Yeah, it's a good way of breaking ice with anybody. That's why when I was asking off the air, say something funny. It's a good icebreaker too, because it lets me see how quick you are on your feet, but also it hopefully makes you realize I'm not trying to make this super serious interview about how the world's ending and blah blah blah. No. I just want to get to know you as a person. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So this is your first. So I'm going to ask this real quick. This is your first book?
Yes.
What is the biggest thing you learned with your first book?
Biggest thing that I learned with my first book? Oh man. Just in terms of publishing or in terms of writing?
What was important? What's important to you? This is your own. This is however you want to answer it.
competitive industry, and everyone thinks that they've written like the next best thing, and so you really have to kind of take the bull by the horns and really push for your work, because if you don't do it, no one else will. Like, I actually have an amazing publisher that does a wonderful job of promoting my work, and they're always there to help me when I need them. But at the end of the day, like, I am still my greatest ally, and
Absolutely.
I've had to really learn to kind of put myself out there in ways that I'm not used to. So I think that was probably like one of the biggest lessons I've learned with breaking into the publishing industry.
So for you, this has been kind of getting you out of your comfort zone a little bit too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you really have to schmooze, and that's not something I'm used to, and it's not something I like doing. I'm pretty introverted, and so I'm not really a social butterfly, but I really have to learn how to just suck it up and do it.
Yes.
For lack of a better way of putting it.
I actually just wrote about that today, believe it or not. It got published on a friend of mine's website. What writers can learn from heavy metal. No, because if you sit there and think about it, okay, so writers and heavy metal guys and musicians in particular have a lot in common. They're very introverted, shy people, right? They really, really are. But I had the opportunity to attend an Alice Cooper chat a long time ago. Alice Cooper's a really chill dude. He really, really is. It's not the same guy you see on the stage, but the guy on the stage is still Alice Cooper, if that makes sense. There's a part of him that's real. That when he's up on the stage, now metal does it in a very aggressive way. Sometimes it's there's decapitations, blood sacrifices, Viking war, whatever the case may be. The usual fun theatrical stuff. We don't necessarily do that as writers. That all said, I went to a metal concert once where someone was in a wheelchair getting crowd surfed in that wheelchair. If you ever get people crowd surfing, or a wheelchair person crowd surfing in your book signing, you've won. I don't care what happens the rest of the night, you've won. But the thing I find what I've learned, and just even doing this podcast, is it's me. Like, ultimately, I'm the product. Whether it's not even really the book. The book's great. Book's how people support me. But what I'm really selling is myself, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I've honestly, I've made a lot of headway in terms of marketing just by, forging relationships with people.
Absolutely.
One-on-one. And, yeah, you are selling yourself. Some people call it, branding yourself or whatever, but, I mean, in a way, you are selling your personality, you're selling who you are and what you have to offer. Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
You're putting a face to the person. Like, I didn't know who AJ Vrana was. I know her name's Alex. I know she has a really quirky sense of humor. Once she gets out of her shell, she's actually a really cool person to talk to. She likes. We taught great stories about brewing booze, I think she enjoys music. I'm not sure if she enjoys metal, but she does enjoy music at the very least. And she busted her ass to get to where she got to. But there's a story. Now I have now I know that Alex, AJ Vrana, is an amazing human being. So it makes me think that maybe her books are going to be as amazing. And maybe maybe it's not going to be, well, maybe you're the next, Terry Goodkind or Robert Jordan. Maybe you're the next Ursula Le Guin. Maybe not the first book, but you know what? But the thing is, you'll earn yourself that opportunity to try again, and that is what every writer wants, isn't it?
Yeah, and I do think people approach your work more openly when they know you. Also, it's so easy to shit on a work that, you don't know the author. They're not even, a human being to you. But when you know the person who wrote it, when you, have some kind of connection to them, it's actually a lot easier to read that work trying to think about what they had in mind when they were writing it. And I actually think that that's a huge win. Because, a lot of people approach literature what is this piece of literature going to do for me? And if they don't get what they want out of it, they don't like it. And I think that is not the best way to approach literature, because literature was written by a person who had their own goals, and so sometimes you have to approach the literature on its own terms, and what better way to do that than by like having that human connection with the author.
Do you know what the hardest thing I have to do now? I do now. It's hard. The hardest thing for me to do, because I know so many authors now, asking for autographs. I feel like a tool. I feel like such a tool. It's like,
why?
Because I know you. It's so for me. It's like this. I know you don't mind doing it, right? I know that, and I know that it's actually a compliment, right? But, right, but I got this opportunity to actually know you, and that's better than the book. So, right, so when I go like, by the way, can you please sign this for my collection? I kind of feel like it's like, oh, it's like,
I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like, a lot of my friends are like, you have to sign my book, and it's almost like a joke because they know me, but I don't know. I guess I get it, yeah.
It might, like, and I grant you, it's all in my head. I'm okay with this being all in my head. There are some complexes I'm okay having, right? So what I usually do is, will you deface the book for me? Because it's a really fun way of asking for an autograph. Also, it will give me the excuse when I have my book in print that I actually draw villainous twirling mustaches in there to deface my book. So.
That's perfect. I like that.
Yeah. Again, having fun with it, right? And the nature of humor, after all, is surprise. And that good humor has a surprise that people can dig. And so that is what little I know about humor that actually works. So.
I think that's correct.
Yes, I think.
I'm an expert on humor at all, but yes, I agree.
Gary, you agree? Well, I'm glad. So, Miss Alex, I think we have an interview. What do you think?
Sorry, what do I think about what?
I said, I think we have a great interview. What do you think?
I think we got a great interview.
Okay, so how about we do this? You plug your book, how people can find you, and then we'll talk a little bit after this, just some final wrap-up stuff, and go from there.
Sure. So my book is called The Hollow Gods. It's an adult dark fantasy with some light horror and magical realism. So you can find it on Amazon or Kobo if you're looking for an ebook. It's actually 99 cents right now. Because we're all hurting for money right now. So my publisher was actually wonderful and just dropped their prices for their ebooks to 99 cents. If you're looking for a print copy, you can buy it or pre-order it online from my publisher, and that is the Parliament House Press. So you can go to their website and it will be there. You can also order signed copies off my website, and my website is thechaoscycle.com. Don't ask where I came up with that. Well, it releases July 28th, so anything right now would just be a pre-order, but you'll get a nice surprise come the end of July. Is there anything else I should say about my book?
Twitter, Instagram, how people can find you.
Yeah. Social media, right? That's a thing I do.
Sometimes.
Hold on.
Okay.
So my Twitter is AJ Vrana, just AJ Vrana, no like spaces or stops or anything. And my Instagram is a.j.vrana, so you can find me on Twitter or Instagram. And I am pretty responsive there since I don't yet have like 60,000 followers. So yeah.
All right. That was my conversation with AJ Vrana. Alex is a wonderful human being and a great author in her own right. Check out The Hollow Gods. Alex, thank you very much for coming on my show. I appreciate it, and you're welcome back anytime. And guys, check out her book. It's amazing. Yeah. This is my 400th episode in terms of actual recording. I've been working pretty hard on this one. Like I said, it's an uncertain time. I kind of wish I could use my good microphone. But really, yeah, this has been an incredible ride. I've met so many amazing people, and to thank all of you would be an injustice. So I'll thank a few. Robert J. Sawyer for putting the idea in my head. I want to thank particularly Chris Carolyn, Adam Dries, and Jennifer Ron and to encourage me to make the podcast better. I want to thank Clifford Samuels, IFWA, the Aurora Committee, for giving me recognition. I want to thank every guest I've had. You guys have all been amazing. Even the bad ones have been amazing. Most of you have been incredible. I've had this wonderful privilege of hearing these great stories from these great people across Canada and the world. Beyond that, every sponsor I've had, Indie Imprint, thank you so much for a great relationship. I'm honored to have had it for this long. It's been great, and for everybody else who's taken that time to support the show here and there, you're awesome. 400 episodes, and here's the 400 more. That'll do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can subscribe to it. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. I'm on Podomatic as well. Click the subscribe button, share it to your friends. If you want to support this podcast financially, I have merchandise at jpentelrosco@redbubble.com, or you can buy one of my books. The Cloud Diver is available now on Amazon. I got books available through River Publishing and coming soon in other places as well. My YouTube channel is Joshua Penteloresco. My Twitter and Instagram is jpenteloresco. Facebook page is Joshua Penteloresco Author Podcaster. You can find me all kinds of places. Come say hi. If you want to hire me for podcasting, writing, editing, feel free to contact me too. Stay inspired, guys. Thanks for listening. And here's the 400 more.
Josh.